Kaboom.
What we
Talk to me.
uh man, who would have thought that gender reveal parties could become so epic?
Yeah, man. You know, the thing, one of the things that came up, I was talking to my wife about was that there was this like sort of shaming that came with that. A lot of people been shaming these people. Like they're the, they're the first ones to do a gender reveal. Like, see what you done? Like, nobody's expecting it. Nobody wants that to happen. I feel so like,
Right.
like it's just so much. I mean, maybe in some circles people aren't like bashing on them enough. That's why they're all like they feel like they're getting away. They need to like feel it or something. I don't know, but it's
I
like,
mean,
man,
I get it, man. I get the anger because people always gotta blame somebody. They gotta take the
you gotta
anger out.
blame somebody. You gotta blame somebody. But it's just like a why it happened, man. Like it all the hate ain't gonna bring the stuff back, And if
Yeah,
it makes you feel better, it's only gonna make you feel better for a little while. Like I can't think of people who were like so angry and years later it's like, yeah, I'm so glad I was that angry. Like
right.
so glad I was so
Kill me,
angry. It
man.
did it for me.
What's up, Katrina? That's funny.
KK. Yeah, man. Yeah.
That
I say
Go
it
ahead.
again. No, I was just thinking like, this week and last week sort of blended together for me in some kind of way where I'm not like like I can't really decipher like what happened last week for real, like especially with after Chadwick, like it's just
Yeah.
been a week now and it feels like it's been forever.
You know what? Damn. Cause I ain't gonna lie, it's kind of been way in the back of my head already.
Do you see what I'm saying? It
And
just feels like it's been forever already, but like that just happened, you know?
whew, that must mean we're getting hit with a lot of stuff at the same time.
Yeah, man. It's not to take lightly at all, man. I mean, that and it's just a lot, man. It's a lot to take in, dude. And I'm just of this mind where I'm not down to blame anybody for how they feel in this moment. Like it's just
Right.
like, dude, you just gonna feel the way you feel, and you're gonna have
Yeah.
to deal with it the way you're gonna have to deal with it, because that, at the
Can't
end of the day,
explain.
that's just what it's about. You
Right.
know, take your time, don't waste your time. You know,
how's the sun been looking in your area?
on Sunday it was super like red and like we had the really orange sky, and then that kind of like moved on, and we just got a lot of like a lot of dust, a lot of smoke in the air.
Yeah.
Air quality is super poor. So it's like, yeah, I'm not going outside too much, just kind of keeping it in.
Yeah.
We're talking about this, man, like this sort of like what we're leading into, in this area that I'm at, we call it fire season. And I mean, anywhere in LA, really, it's just fire season now, we're about to go into it, and it's going to be scary to like sort of see how we deal with this. And as well as being in a pandemic. And then I got to talking with somebody, and we were talking about, well, how do you know, things are supposed to be terrible in the winter, supposedly,
All right.
but what exactly what does terrible look like, because I can't imagine people are still going to be like complaining to go outside when it's like 3 below 0. Like it's just no, it don't
Right.
it ain't gonna work up to me, like who's gonna be fighting like for freedoms at that time? Like, like it's too cold. It's too
Yeah.
cold, man. Uh
Or
so I
is it
don't
even
know.
gonna get cold?
Anyway, that's the thing. And then there's this discussion like, well, you tell me what you think about this. What do you think as far as like if a Biden Harris wins, does that mean that there's this sort of this, I don't know what to call it, but like a sort of unrelegated anarchy that is gonna like sort of get put out there, just based off of like a sore loser kind of thing, or vice versa. Even Trump gets another 4 years and people lose their shit and like take it to the streets in the winter.
But take it to the street song. Who?
That's what I'm saying.
That's the thing, man. All this stuff is starting to like, man. It feels like trends because what I thought about today.
What was that?
Whatever happened to that 5G conversation? Did we ever figure that out? That was a deep conversation in the beginning.
That was a really deep conversation, man. Yeah, dude. No, bring it back up, man. 5G, what happened to that?
What happened? Because I've been seeing more 5G commercials now. I'm like, wait a minute. Did we ever figure that out?
Yeah, wasn't that a bad thing? Like, I thought we were.
Right.
What happened with 5G and the kidnapped people? And it's a lot of stuff, man. It was just like, what happened to that stuff?
Right. What's up, Keita? Yeah, I don't know, man. That's why I feel like it's we getting hit with a lot, and we can't stick to one thing long enough to like fully address it to resolve it. And I hope that we can do that so that we don't continue to fall into a cycle. You know what I mean? And so with Biden and Harris, I think that's my only concern, to where we have this idea that comes in that looks symbolic, that feels good, but on the inside ain't really doing nothing for you. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We about to get a big old quarter pounder. You look good, sounds good, and you actually put that shit in your body, and the results do not end well.
Yeah,
results may vary. I think that like, but it's an interesting thing though, man, to look at the conversations that are sort of being had around things. And one of the things that I think is really interesting is how they've politicized everything. Sort of no, I haven't. I cut it again actually, so I'm gonna show you in a second. But everything's sort of become politicized, from the masks to the whether people should be going back to work in businesses and stuff, all the way to these movies. Hollywood is I think you know what I'm about to ask you.
What?
This movie Cuties, you heard about that?
Is that the one with the little girls?
Yeah,
I heard about it. I have not seen it.
My thing,
and like what?
I mean, they put the minute you say that this is a pedophile's dream movie, it makes it hard to say that you're gonna watch the movie. Like, oh, I gotta watch this for myself.
That's in the trailer?
No. It's not in the trailer. I'm just saying that the conversation around it's become so politicized because the girls who are like 11 years old are dancing provocatively, and there are a lot of like camera angles and things like that are like, damn, y'all are deep. Like, what's going on? Like,
they really went there with it.
Yeah, and like they went there with it, and in this went there with it in a like, whoa, kind of. I don't know how to explain it. Really, it's not like it's girls dancing provocatively, young girls at age 11 dancing provocatively. Now, okay, let's just look at this for a second, okay, and let's go to our real lives. When I was 11 years old, sex was a conversation. We were talking about sex at 11. We were talking about sex at 9. I'm not trying to say that these things are right or that was the right thing, or like, that, whatever. Like, you don't end up fucked up or you are fucked up for it or whatever. But it's just something that I think it just is, you know. Uh, I've seen movies where I've seen like the child actors, like there are very provocative moments, but it didn't take away from the overall like message of what the story is, you know, what the movie is about. They had I can't remember the name of the movie, but this girl who I was in Pete's Dragon with, she was in this movie. It was a little indie movie. And I was like, oh, look, you know, old girl's in this movie, man. All right, like good for her. And then all of a sudden it's a scene where her and two other her white friends are trying to dance for this like half black boy because he's like the cool kid in their town now, because he's like, you know, wow, we ain't never seen no half black kid before, and like so they want to impress him. So they think he didn't came from the city and all this. So they start twerking for him, like, or you know, like terribly twerking for him. But it's just like those were provocative moves.
Wow.
Those were very like, it was just like, oh, okay, that's weird. But that didn't take away from the entire movie. So I wonder if the same thing is happening with this movie, where it's supposed to be about something specific to like this coming of age for an 11-year-old, which, you know, we've seen these before, like movies about kids who are learning about stuff, like mid 90s. What was the one that Jonah Hill had directed? And what's the other one? It's like, look, like kids, you know, like that. It's just like we've seen these movies before, you know.
And did it make you feel uncomfortable?
For that like 2 seconds it did, but like it didn't. But what I'm saying is it didn't distract me from the overall like what the movie was about. Like it wasn't like I was like, oh my god, like look at this. And I feel like that's what's happening with this movie, Cuties. Like I haven't seen it yet, but the reviews have been great. Like, you know, there have been reputable people that say like, yo, this movie is awesome, man. It tore me down when I saw it. And you know, and how does that promote pedophilia as much as like a movie like Big with Tom Hanks, you know, where you know what I'm saying? It's a 13-year-old boy, and she's like in the car with him, and she's like, oh my god, I should have known. And how old are you? 15, 16? He's like, oh, I'm 13. She's like, oh, figures. No wonder. It's like, wait, what?
Right. Yeah, I feel you on that.
It's like, maybe you can call me in 10 years. Like, whoa, man, you realize you're just talking to a 13-year-old now, like, right?
Yeah, that's a little creepy. Damn. You know what movie I was thinking about? That was kind of dark when it comes to children that I love growing up, and that's Hocus Pocus. We gotta watch that for Halloween. It's a good movie, but man, it's about them kidnapping children and draining them of their power and killing them. You know what I mean? It's like, wait, this is a Disney movie. Oh shit, this is a dark story.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was wondering why, when I was younger watching it, I used to feel sad a little bit. Like, damn, I like this movie because I used to watch it with my sisters. But there was one part of me that just felt like, man, something that's really dark and messed up about this story. Like they cursed the boy and put him in a cat. So he was cursed to live for 1,000 years or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And when he finally got let free, he basically died, and he was with his sister again. So that was cool. But just the idea of like, dang, what was that about? These witches wanting to get children. What's the Hansel and Gretel story about? Oh, I just said, it's funny. What's up, but what's that? What's that about? You know what I mean?
Right. Roald Dahl's The Witches, which they're remaking now, is sort of in that realm also, right? Like, you remember that movie back in the day?
Which one?
In Houston. It's called The Witches. You remember that?
I haven't seen that one.
Oh man, that's an old one, man. But Roald Dahl, you remember Roald Dahl? He wrote Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, The Witches.
Mm-mm.
Uh, he wrote a whole bunch of stuff, man. But yeah, this movie The Witches was about these witches who were having like a conference at a hotel, and this little boy, like they were like basically like kidnapping these children to like have all these children at the thing, and they ended up messing it up and turned the witches into these rats. It was disgusting, dude. It was I couldn't believe that it was a Disney movie actually when I watched it.
Well,
It was really gross.
have you started Lovecraft Country?
Yes, I
I
have.
couldn't talk about it yet. We only saw one episode. What's up, Chanet?
On episode 1. How
We
could you not go to the next one as soon as you finish the first?
well, it was late when we started.
I see. I watched that, and I finally watched my boy Mamadou and Oh No Jerome. Oh Jerome No. That's what it is. Oh Jerome No. Dude, this is one of the funniest shows I've ever seen, man. I mean, it's just like it's part of that FXX series where it's on Hulu, and it's only like 12 minutes at a time, man. But it's just a lot of good stuff where I feel like, like that's just out there. That's just a different type of comedy, a different type of a thing. And they're bringing us these fresh faces that are like, that we aren't used to seeing. We're seeing Mamadou, we're seeing Jonathan, we're seeing Michaela Coel more, and I think I may destroy you. I'm trying to think of another show that's like just like that show is great. I just started watching this show Woke on
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I saw the billboard. I haven't watched it yet though.
It's pretty funny, man. I was pretty proud of the pilot episode. That was pretty dope pilot episode for sure. And Lamar Morris, man, he's pretty funny. I'm glad he's getting his chance at leading man status.
Oh, that's what's up. That's what's up, man. And I got some catching up to do, man. I love that country.
Yeah, man. But I like the idea too of how they are taking the stories from the book. Misha Green adapted it from the H.P. Lovecraft's stories and basically put these characters in a time where they would be reading it in real time of H.P. Lovecraft. And like tying these racial instances in with his stories. So I thought that was super interesting.
Huh, that's what's up. One of my neighbors, he just gave me the book, Beloved. I watched the movie a long time ago.
Oh yeah.
I need to watch the book because I feel like it's gonna give me a totally different experience. The book is told from everybody's their own personal perspective. It wasn't really like that in the movie. And I ain't gonna lie, man, when I first watched that movie, I was like 9, 10 years old. I wasn't trying to watch the movie for no messages. I know there was a scene in there where Thandie Newton had got a little. She took clothes off a little bit. Where, back then, that's when you try to watch the nudie show.
Yeah,
the TV started buzzing. So that was the closest thing I had was that scene. So that was kind of my only reason for watching the movie when I was little until I got older. And watched it again, but I gotta rewatch it. Oh, I gotta rewatch Thor too, man. I'm starting to rewatch a lot of movies that I felt like were telling a story really prevalent to the time and also time to come. You know what I mean? Yeah.
What's his last? You said Thor?
Yeah, Thor, the first one.
The first one.
Yeah.
Because he's telling Odin because of Odin. Odin's telling the story of what do you mean?
So the first one, this is when kind of the origin, not the origin story, but the beginning of our introduction to Thor in the Marvel series. So kind of give you that origin story of where Loki comes from, Odin going to sleep. And, you know, at the time when it first came out, I hadn't done any study on ancient history yet. So now that I've studied that and see that Norse mythology, or this Thor story is a later version of that Egyptian Osiris story, uh, it piqued a little bit more interest. So, because they talked about magic, talked about science, talked about this high civilization, talked about Thor, who is the Heru in this story, or the Christ or the Jesus. He had to fall down to earth to become human, learn how to love, or how to become a higher version of himself, to then get his power back, and you know what I mean, take over and become the hero. And Loki, who was looked at as the villain, is really just the wounded child, man. I was adopted by the group of people who murdered a lot of my people, which is a kind of a symbolic representation of us. You know what I mean? Like raised in this culture that took down our culture and never really told us about, you know, where we come from. So when you find that out, you know, it builds up a little resentment. You know, like, why did you keep this from me? And I have powers that you try to keep me away from. So I'm about to use that.
Yeah.
But if you're angry, you're gonna use it in the wrong way and end up becoming, you know, that villain. Or you can use it for good, I guess. But so yeah, stories like that, man, I want to go back and like revisit to gain a little bit more insight.
Yeah, a little more insight. And I dig that. I dig that. I was trying to, you know, man, I rewatched Black Panther again this week. And I did it with my son this time, man. It's the first time he's seen it. And you know, he's loving it, man. But I'm sort of looking at it and I'm trying to like see it with a different eye now and try to really understand like the thing, because I know there's a huge discussion around like, you know, the idea of what Killmonger was trying to do and what he was saying about the place and what the movie was saying through his character about just like, you know, you either like nurture the child or watch him burn everything to the ground. And essentially like what's happening in America, you know, especially of like, yeah, watch these children burn this place to the ground because nothing is nurtured in a sense. In love, everything has become this sort of politicized thing where, you know, you got to pick a side, you got to like take your stance, you got to like make sure that your voice is heard and that it's accounted for. And then like, but nothing is nurtured in love. Nothing is like sort of like, you know what, there's a misunderstanding here and I can hear it. Right. And I know it. I know that there is something that can be done in order to change that. You know, I don't know. And I sort of I guess I looked at T'Challa like he was the one who sort of saw that misunderstanding and wanted to make a difference.
He did. And that was a good reflection to us about something that we have to learn about, why it is people are so angry, and to understand that they have a reason to be, but to also understand that, hey, we have to do something about that anger, because, you know, just picking up a gun and wanting to shoot everybody is not going to get anything done. You'll just become another martyr, you know? So it was interesting that T'Challa had to go back and he had to undo some stuff from his past, you know, i.e. his ancestors, because they had messed up. You know what I mean? They had lost how to love. They had left somebody behind, you know? And I think that's it seems to be the story of us that, at some point we kind of just put our heart to the side as a collective, and eventually we got picked up by another group of people that didn't love us, and then we made it, and we got angry, and then we got to heal from all this past trauma that our ancestors put on us. And it's kind of cool because they they got the trauma, but they also got the keys at the same time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you gotta go back into that space. I'm glad they showed that a few times, man, with going into the underworld, because all these stories talk about it, going into that that ancestral realm, or that spirit realm, to get your answers. But it's not a literal place. It's more so a place deep within your heart or the back of your mind, because that's where all our ancestors are, And so it's really about you really taking a deep introspective look into yourself. That's all T'Challa was doing. He had to really, really look deep inside himself to see that, oh damn, I'm Killmonger, and Killmonger is hurt because his family feel like they don't love him.
Right.
So I gotta heal that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I thought that was pretty dope.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of things in there. I just felt like, yeah, this is deep. That I guess I didn't give the chance to the first time around. Oh man, I know you gotta make sure they shoot P Valley in LA.
Mm-hmm. Right. Shout out to
Chinette, P Valley, that finale.
Hey.
But it's just something that I think is, as I'm like watching this stuff, man, I'm sort of looking at the things that are being created and greenlit, and looking at the sort of parallels of what's happening in our society, especially, my bubble of things, I don't claim to be like in all these different worlds. I feel like you gotta have so much intellect about so many different things, and it's like that's just not you don't have to, man. Like, I don't want to pretend to be smart about everything, like I just want to be able to be good at what I do, put love out in the world, be, get knowledgeable about the things that I want to, that interest me and want to move forward. I want the voiceless to have a voice, but I'm not going to be an expert on every voiceless person in the world. I know this about myself and things already. So like, I just want to be like, if it comes into my train ride, then yeah, of course, like let's go for the ride then. But I'm not looking for causes to take up, man, because that's just, I don't know, man. I think
that's a form of your ego when you try to pick up those causes. It's like, when did you become somebody else's, fixer upper, Because what if somebody became that for you? Then you wouldn't be able to, fully have your own experience or your own life if it was up to somebody else to come and say, "Nah, I'm gonna show you how to do it my way."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But how you're going about it with just being yourself, like fully, just as we got taught to be and to express whatever comes out of you, and who the people around you get to observe that and resonate with whatever thing is inside of them to open up, or release whatever thing that they see that they need to release. You know what I mean? And you can't ever figure out what that is. Only they'll be able to figure that out. But by you shedding your light, you become that vehicle, that platform for them to do that same thing. It's kind of like wow, that was cool. It's like the darkness is the platform for the light to shine, but then when you shine the light, you also become that darkness, or that void, or that mother energy, to allow space for somebody else to shine their light.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
talk to me about the balance of ego.
So, okay. So I think so. We got a ego. The ego has been taught in a way where it's this bad part of yourself. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you got an ego, which means like, oh, you arrogant or you're cocky. And part of that is true, you know what I mean? But that's not a full or accurate representation of the ego. So, because if you only see it that way, you'll never have balance with it because you'll always be trying to get rid of it. You know what I mean? But
Right.
you can't get rid of it. It's a part of yourself. It's a part of yourself that is the reality that you're making. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's like it's a personality or a guide, and it goes off of whatever you say is. So if you say, "Hey, I'm a happy person," there's a part of yourself that's gonna manifest it as a reality. You're gonna walk around. You're gonna be feeling happy.
Right.
There are traits and attributes that you pick up and ideas, and all these ideas become different forms of the ego, whether good or bad. Doesn't know the difference. It's just whatever you stick. You know what I mean?
Right.
So the ego becomes bad when it's overtaking you, where you're not being true to yourself, but you're having this representative speak for you. But the balance of it is you just being true and being real with yourself, because there's a part of you that's jacked up. There's a part of you that's good. There's a part of you that's really insecure. There's a part of you that's confident. And in order for you to be really whole of yourself, you have to shine a light on all of yourself, which means just tell the truth about who you are. And that's how you become balanced with it. Because if you got anger issues, that anger is always going to take over you and rule you until you acknowledge that, okay, there's a powerful force in me. Let me acknowledge it so I can address where it is and where it comes from. And if it's coming from this illusion or this idea or this form of trauma, let's say I got abused when I was a kid and it really like made me angry because I wasn't able to fight back. You know what I mean? So now I built up this ego called defensiveness. And so every time I'm walking around and it feels like somebody's like attacking me, here comes that ego, that guy to protect me, right? This psychological attack or this physical attack I feel like I'm about to get. And so either that thing becomes real for me, or I can acknowledge that, oh, that's a form of my ego that I created to protect myself. I don't need to protect myself from that because I'm not getting abused right now.
So what I'm getting from you is that idea of like this ego, right, is not necessarily one form. It's a master of all shapes in a sense, right? Like, oh, you need me to be this? No problem. It's a shapeshifter in a sense, right? Like it's Aladdin's genie. It's like, I'm gonna turn into whatever you need me to in order for you to be who you need to be.
Right.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I think that's interesting, man. You know, like I don't want to feel this way anymore. So therefore I'm going to rely on my ego to make me feel differently. Now when we get in the ego, are we talking in truth? How does ego and truth come into play?
I guess truth is kind of relative to your own perspective. And then so that's you deciphering what's your ego versus what your truth is. So that everybody we live in this realm of duality, so everybody has two sides. You got a light side, you got a dark side. And the balance is just having that yin and yang. If one side is superseding the other, you're gonna be imbalanced. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the ego is you can never get, like I said again, you can never get rid of it. It's always going to be there. So it's just acknowledging that things will come up that you've held on to. But I think getting to that is just the process of truth. So There is no thing called truth that you'll get to. It's always there. It's just the only thing that'll get in the way is the idea of your ego if it's built off of a form of fear. You know what I mean? Because the fear closes you off from truth, which is that frequency of love. So if love is just a frequency that's moving everything, if fear comes up, that's basically that block. Then it becomes the ego, which is this creation that you built to give yourself a reason for it to exist. So if you ever try to get past it, it'll create some illusion to either scare you off or give you a reason to believe that this is a bad idea. Because that's what you asked for.
I mean, okay, so check this out. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes for causation, but nothing escapes the law. This principle embodies the fact that there is a cause for every effect, an effect for every cause. It explains that everything happens according to law, that nothing ever merely happens, that there is no such thing as chance, that while there are various planes of cause and effect, the higher dominating the lower planes, still nothing ever entirely escapes the law. The Hermetists understand that the art of methods of rising above the ordinary plane of cause and effect to a certain degree. And by mentally rising to a higher plane, they become causers instead of effects. The masses of people are carried along, obedient to environment, the wills and desires of others stronger than themselves, hereditary, suggestion, and other outward causes moving them about like pawns on the chessboard of life. But the masters, rising to the plane above, dominate their moods, characters, qualities, and powers, as well as the environment surrounding them, and become movers instead of pawns. They help to play the game of life instead of being played and moved about by other wills and environments. They use the principle instead of being its tools. The masters obey the causation of the higher planes, but they help to rule on their own plane. In this statement, there is condensed a wealth of hermetic knowledge. Let him read who can.
Okay. So what I take from that in layman's terms is it's all a game. And if you're unaware that it's a game, you're going to for sure get played. If you become aware that it's a game, you can't get out of the game, but you can work with the game and become in partner with the game in what and where it's going, because it's ultimately going the same place that you're going. You just haven't caught up to it yet. So with the whole law is there's still some boundary at the end of the day. But you become the chooser of where you're gonna be on either side when you become aware of yourself. So if you're unaware, you're a pawn, you're getting played. You're just a role player. You become conscious, you're still a role player, but you know you're the role player and you're okay with it, and you're not just being told where to go without having your own decision. You're making choices for yourself without having Mr. Martin to tell you to go stage left.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. You it's almost like it's the same thing. It's like knowing what your lane is, right?
Right.
Your lane, the thing about not knowing what your lane is that you're gonna end up in lanes where you're blocked in traffic, and sometimes you're not blocked in traffic. Sometimes you're going so fast down the lane you miss your exits.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're in the wrong lane, you in that fast lane, you only got 1 mile until your exit. What you in the fast lane for?
Right.
Over. Get to the right. Slow your ass down. So it's a thing, man. It's a thing about, like, I think it goes back into this sort of ego of like what it is that you need in order to be who you need to be. It goes into this idea of like, I'm going to be a causer because I know what the game is for me,
Right.
or I know what stake I have in the game, should I say, right? Like if it's a game and you didn't bet $100, but your bank account is fat, like it's nothing to you, man. You can move the way you want to move. You ain't gonna get much out of it.
If you know you got money in the bank.
If you know you got money in the bank.
If you don't know that you got money in the bank,
you feel like you taking a risk.
Right.
You feel like you're risking it all with that little $100.
Right.
Yeah.
So it makes
you got.
Right.
But
that's funny because there's a Bible verse that talks about that with I think in the parable God was leaving, so he left 3 different individuals with a certain amount of coins, and everybody did something with their stuff except for one person. He just buried his, and he was like, God, I know when you was coming back, so I didn't want to do nothing with it. I didn't want to risk it, so I just kept it there. And God was like, dang, you could at least put it in the bank and got some interest on it. Something like you didn't make no moves. Yeah, and I see that too, man. That fear, it makes you stiff. It's like with water, man. When the colder we get, the harder we get. The warmer we are, the more things are just flowing. You get too hot, you're gonna burn up. You get too cold, you're gonna freeze. So you gotta be, right in that center, knowing where you are, being present. Damn, man, I'm jealous. And finding that balance. You find that balance when you realize that you're a part creating this, all of this, the good and the bad, and there's no wrong. It's just what you allow yourself to experience based on your love versus the fear that you're vibrating out.
Yeah. And that's and that's it's about feeling it, being able to feel it, so many things, and we all feel different things and we feel things differently. I often come across this thing where it's like I look at a lot of stuff that it can be considered very low vibrating in a sense. I used to watch a lot of those Karen videos. I just like a good freak out, man. I tell people this all the time. I just like a good public freak out. It's just something about it, man. It just really touches my soul. Lets me know everything's gonna be all right, But that stuff can have an effect on you. It can have an effect on you. You can feel things that you don't necessarily want to feel, but you're taking on other people's stuff. You're taking on other people's moments, anxieties, or triggers, or whatever.
Yeah.
By watching that stuff, man, and you don't even realize it, until you start getting out of pocket, and your partner got to be like, "Hey," because you watching Karen videos. You're like, "Oh yeah, that's right." You come back to reality.
You gotta leave Karen alone, man.
You gotta leave Karen videos alone.
Karen just need a hug, man. She just need a hug.
Bro, man.
I've been that way with Skip Bayless lately, man. It's been hard to watch Skip and Shannon sometimes, man, because Skip Bayless he hate on LeBron too much to where it's like, man, you don't have nothing else to say other than to keep like nitpicking at somebody's, and what I'm noticing
is it just his gameplay, or is it like just overall like just the man who he is?
It's annoying, man. It's annoying. It's almost like I have nothing else to talk about, so I'm just gonna run with this nitpick LeBron thing. So he can score 50 points, 15 rebounds, 20 assists, and Skip Bayless will point out all the stuff he did wrong. It's like, yo, what's up with that? And
is this something that everybody notices, or is this like something particular for you? Is there a lot of people like, yo, man, what's up with Skip and LeBron, dog? Like this dude is tripping.
Everybody notices. And then it's so bad to the point to where now Shannon, I think he used to like do the whole Goat James thing as like a fun thing, but now it's gotten to the point to where that's all he has to talk about now, because he got to pretty much defend LeBron and his character or his game as a basketball player, to where the whole debate now becomes about how good or bad LeBron is versus how good or bad Michael Jordan was. It's like, man, Michael Jordan ain't been good since 1998. Why are we still talking about him? So
Yeah.
yeah, it sucks because somebody else can have the same stat line and he'll talk about how it was all right. And I was like, damn, man, that's the thing. And I see in America, man, where it's the same thing with when a black guy gets shot by a cop versus when a white kid goes shoot up a school. You're gonna find everything wrong with what could have went wrong with this black dude, where he came from.
Yeah.
Oh, he probably had a gun, or
Yeah.
he had warrants. But then you'll make up all these excuses for the white kid. And I used to get mad about that stuff, and I kind of let it go because I realized, like, man, people just don't know how to tell the truth. But watching it on a sports show kind of just started making me feel a little eerie, like, man, it's even bleeding into the sports world. It's like you just can't get away from it.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's this thing where like, if at the top of the year you love LeBron and Jordan, by the time you get done with it, by the end of the year, somehow the conversation has become, Biden, Trump, and then you got to choose. Like, are you going with Jordan or LeBron? Because it's become
Like, so many other
I
people.
like both of them, and they were really great players, and they entertained me like they were supposed to do. Like, what
Right.
do you want from them? Like, what do you want? You were entertained regardless. You had something to talk about. He's saving your job. I mean, maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's his hot butter. On TV, man, like when you get on TV, you got to stay relevant. You got to stay relevant because if you don't, like, and as long as LeBron James is in the NBA, Skip Bayless has a job because they want that. That's good TV to them. If everybody's like, yay, LeBron, then there's no controversy.
Yeah.
Where's the controversy if you're like,
Yeah.
what is that? So it's interesting, man. It's really interesting.
Yeah, man. And I get it. It's for TV. And so, but like the Karen stuff is for TV for you at first, but at a while, if you keep watching it, eventually, like you said, it's gonna have an effect on you.
See, but the Karen thing is on a whole nother level, man. They done made pages upon pages.
Why have so many white women been named as a group, dog? So we have Becky. We know who Becky is.
You know what a Becky is.
Who?
Yeah, I said, yeah, you know what a Becky is, for sure.
We know what Becky is. Now we got Karen.
Mm-hmm.
We had an Ashley before. Well, you don't hear a lot about Ashley no more, but that's good.
Yeah.
But man, that's kind of interesting.
Do you think that these names do you think they become racial slurs after a while? Like if it refers to a certain group and it's used in hatred?
Yeah, it does. I would be offended if I'm some white girl walking around and I just happen to get started a little bit and they go, oh, there she go, Karen. Don't be a Karen. I'm like, damn, that's rude.
That's rude.
Oh damn shit! Karen.
Oh man, we better say it now because in 30 years, boy, they go look at this place and go like, look at them, just use it freely.
Name their kids Karen anymore.
Oh, they ain't gonna name their kids Karen. No, don't do that.
Nah, that's funny.
What to me was really funny, like or at least ironic, is a person who's described as a Karen that is named Karen.
Oh,
and like it's just so like on the money.
It's like a Karen.
But he's like, my name is Karen. What's the big deal? It's like, yeah, you don't get it. You don't get it.
I'm glad I didn't grow up. I can't remember really growing up around. I did grow up around like nasty black woman. It was my uncle's wife. She was a mean. I don't know what she was so mean about. And what was interesting about one of my experiences with her, when we were little, me and my cousin went to her house to Oh, why we went up there? Because it was always kind of like, nah, you don't really go up there, even though she lived next door. But we went in the house, and she had gave us some candy. Nothing to it, right? Little
Yeah.
Easter egg. Me and my cousin, she like, here you go, okay. Bro, we walked back to my grandma's house. My grandma, my sister, and just sitting down watching soap opera like they always. And say, hey, they said, where you been? I said, oh, we just came from, next door. And they said, what? Man, they hopped up, went in the cabinet, got a bottle of salt, started pouring salt on our shoulders. Said, come here. We gotta make sure she ain't put no hex on you. So come whatever type of dark spell in that house, we gotta wipe it off you right now. I'm thinking to myself, like, y'all crazy, what is this? But then recently when I reflected on, I was like, wait, my grandma grew up in the church. That day was talking all about African voodoo. Where did they get that from? Did they have that first and then later get programmed with the church thing? Because I know how my grandma felt about the church. She wasn't really happy about it. Or like I never thought to ask that when I was little, but that was they believed in what they was talking about and they knew what they was talking about. And also I remember a time I went where I don't know who was sick or what was going on, but there was a big tree outside. And my grandma went outside and she took bark from the tree and she boiled it and made some type of healing provider who teaches you that. That's some native type stuff. There was a very deep alchemical knowledge that I saw my grandma and great grandma have, and it made me feel like, where did that come from? And why wasn't that passed down? Because we got that Bible study book, but we ain't getting nothing about alchemy. You know what I mean? My grandma knew how to pick plums from a tree and make wine out of it. So taking it straight from the tree to the house, I could make my own wine. And so, damn, they,
Yeah.
they had that. They had it still, but it just slowly kind of just left in that next generation.
Technology.
Technology. So I was doing some research on because where I'm from, everything's named after Native Americans. And the first church that I grew up in, which is the church my granddad grew up in, was called Uchi Chapel. And Uchi or Yuchi was a group of Native American people. And Yuchi, if I'm not mistaken, meant children of the sun. And it's interesting that you hear children of the sun in other different cultures around the world. So it's funny how that name still got down to there. They started off in Tennessee, but then they migrated to Alabama, Georgia. So there was a chief leader. His name was Yuchi Billy. And Yuchi Billy went to a war with the British. He ended up losing. And unfortunately, I didn't know this is pretty dark, but a lot of them, they got their heads decapitated. And they would keep the heads for preservation or whatever. So British had some little sick little ways of being too, but I just thought that was cool that, man, it was a different world before this new technology world we in right now. Like wasn't no peaceful protests outside, you know?
Yeah.
Tomahawks was a real thing.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's not like every now and then thing. You mess up, chopping the head off, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It was war, man. I mean, that's what I mean about like just the way the world moves. Like, it just interests me where the control goes, like, and how things change over time, and like, like the voiceless start getting voices, and then their voices are heard over others, and things like that. And I'm not trying to get into no Terry Crews thing, saying that black people are about to be dominant in the next 10 years or whatever. Like, I'm just saying, like, there's a lot that's changed in societies over centuries, and the advances that we made, but at the same time, in those advances, the things that have been lost in those advances, you know.
Right. Like advanced like this. I want this to be a topic because I can't really go into it today, but I'm gonna do more research and I want us to go into this topic.
What's that?
So Greek fraternities and sororities.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to take it, this isn't from the point of religion or anything like that. It's from the point of science. Because all these names in Greek are different spectrums of light or electromagnetic rays or electrons. Why do we have so many scientific terms in these fraternities and sororities, and it's not being led with how advanced those names are? You know what I mean? Like, they're symbols, very powerful symbols. Like pi is a symbol of, the ratio of the sun. Psi is another mathematical equation. Gamma is a very high spectrum of electromagnetic waves. So gamma rays, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Omega.
absolutely. No, I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. It's honestly, from my perspective and the way I've sort of felt about it over the years, it's like, they at least, and it's not just black fraternities either, you know what I mean? It's like all fraternities came from one place, and so it was held up with that light, but it was meant to go down a sort of, it was supposed to trickle down. And when you play the game of trickle down, things just get lost in connection to. It's just like if you remember in grade school when you would play the game telephone.
It's just like when you pass that secret down. Eventually,
it just gets bastardized. Like it starts with.
Did it ever get captured though? Because
did it ever get captured? You said,
like, the meaning behind these very powerful words.
I think the word itself attracts somebody or attracts something in somebody that may live up to the thing, if not the organization itself.
Interesting. We're gonna have a good talk on that because I want to know what that means and how that manifested to where you can, like, you got armor on your chest, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's like, how do we carry on these symbols that represent these deep parts of the universe?
Yeah.
And what does it mean if we manifest those names with those meanings versus it just meaning like I'm a part of the group? You know what I mean?
One of the things that always attracted me to the Sigma.
What's going on, Willie?
What's up,
Shantae?
That attracted me to Sigma is the idea of it was addition, it was the gathering of. It was, one of my big things in life is bringing people together. Is adding and putting forces together and things like that. Like, that's something that I think I was meant to do, and I've been very good at throughout my life.
Yeah.
And so it's something about Sigma that always attracted me. That symbol, that thing, like, it always meant add. The sum of, you
want to know something I discovered from, like, just a quick little research of these symbols?
What's that?
It's that the word, now this is me just, I guess that's a theory because I haven't heard anybody say it, but you ain't gotta hear somebody say it for it to be right for me. We're actors, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of on a spiritual level or a scientific level, what are we doing? We're expressing different forms of light, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which would that be a ray? A ray of the sun?
Yeah. That, I mean, I very much could believe that. You know,
So
there's definitely a connection.
there is a connection because the name for ray in Greek is actin.
Is acting. Yeah. An array of characters.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh man, that's
absolutely.
that's
Absolutely.
that's interesting. Uh, yeah, man. I think we're just carrying all these symbols, and whether we know what they mean or not, like it's just a reflection of who we are, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And we are these different rays of light. Like even look at the fraternities and sororities, especially when you go to HBCU. It's all about the colors. It's all about these different spectrums of light that get expressed in a different way, and each form of light uh, has a different sound to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's damn, it's that's pretty freaking dope, man. How like
You know, in school, Mr. Martin will say, "Find your light, find your light,"
right,
and
right.
and
Oh,
and I think about this when it comes to like people who cast projects, like a casting director, right? Like,
mhm,
you know, they're literally looking for the right light for this
right.
for a project. You know what I mean? And I'll give you an example, man. I had an audition the other day, and I'm I'm doing doing the audition like I had put in on tape the night before, but like they had gotten it and they were like they had a callback that day. So it's like, okay, cool. We do the callback and I meet the people, but the director had to go and do something. So it was just me and the casting director and this other guy from casting or a producer or whoever. And they're basically trying to give me the notes that the director gave other people earlier in sessions. And so like he just want and I'm doing it, you know, like me, you know, like all right, cool. I'm gonna do it, you know, because they said forget everything you did in that self tape. We just needed people to do that in
Right.
order to get to this round. So, and just remember that too. By the way, if you are actor pursuing acting or anything like that, sometimes that initial thing that you feel like you don't feel like doing or you don't want to do, just you got to do it in order to get to the next thing. So like if you don't do it, you'll never get to the next thing, basically. So you if you say no there, it just closes the whole tunnel. If at least you do it, you know, like just do it. You never know. They probably just like, yeah, all right, we good. We just need you to turn something in so we could get to the meat of this. So that's what happened to me. So basically, I'm like doing this thing, and you know, and they just kept like asking me to do it differently, like or just like tweak it just a little bit. And I could feel the love of like, we really want you to get this right because we really feel like you're right for this thing. And I'm trying to do what it is that they wanted me to do as opposed to what just came natural for me.
Mhm.
and it's just like, okay, we're gonna do it again. All right, cool. And we did it again. And then we would talk about it, and I would like respond in a way where the casting director totally understood that I understood what he was talking about. And we would like, you know, do it again. But at a certain point, I know I'm not in it because I'm feeling myself check the notes off. Boom, 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 boom. I'm like, okay, like this the flow ain't right. So, all right, let me, you know, I'm trying to adjust, but then it goes back again, and we got to, you know, let's do it one more time, and then I can start feeling the producer or casting other casting guy, feeling like sort of agitated that this casting director wants to give me so many chances to like get it right, to be the right light for them. And it just wasn't happening. I can't explain it. I can't explain like why whatever it was that they wanted me to do, I just wasn't doing it the way that they wanted me to. And so in that sense, it's just like, all right, man, I don't think I'm your guy. Like I just don't feel I'm not feeling like your guy right now.
Right.
And the director, the person who's ultimately gonna pull the trigger on this, isn't even here to like give me the direction that you all are trying to give me. So I'm not sure if this is even the right time or the right thing for me, you know. So it's just like finding that light. People are trying to find a light. And you know, when you're looking for your light, you're like, I can find my light. This is not it. This does not feel right, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I like that metaphor because it's like when you're on stage and you're in that shadow, you can feel when you like when it's not hitting you.
Yeah.
You can feel when that light hits you.
Did I deliver that whole monologue outside of this light just now? Dang, man.
Yeah. And that's cool. And when in terms of light and the darkness, that's go back to that ego talk too. Well, that's another subject too for another day. Like, is the ego light or is the ego dark?
Well, that's the thing. We kind of established that, right? Like it's going to be whatever it is that you need it to be. You know, you live on cloud nine, and everything is going well in the world, and ain't nothing bringing you down. And then all of a sudden, it's just like, whoa, you ignoring the realness around you right now. You know, you living up high, but you're not paying attention to X, Y, and Z that's happening around. You know, and that's
it's funny. It's funny how theater is like everything we've been talking about. Like I can direct it back to us being at rehearsal somewhere.
Oh yeah.
That's crazy. Because what you just said is basically coming into a scene and you doing your lines, and the director going cut. When you just walked in, there was toilet paper all over the floor. Why did you not acknowledge it? All you focus on is get your lines out. And you nothing in the room.
You ain't looked at nothing.
Right. You are not being present to this moment. You're not taking in the whole space and being honest and responding honestly. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's a trip. It is a true trip, man. And you know, like, and that's what the art is, though. That's what the art of all of it is. The art of becoming that causer and knowing that you can come in and acknowledge a space, still be on that cloud nine and like be in tune. And that's balance, you know. But then also like when you need that ego to be lighter and when you're in a heavier mood.
Right.
You know, that heaviness that comes around and everything is keeping you down, and you need that ego to kind of like, you know, kicking the ass a little bit, you know.
Like Jay-Z said, sometimes you need your ego. You gotta remind these fools who they
right?
You
know what I mean?
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think it's something that's just for you, though. You know, I think once you start using that ego as a weapon, as a tool, as a device, as a mask, as a whatever, man, it's become a misuse of the ego. You know what I mean? The ego is like a thing to me that's like that's me and my pet. That's my relationship. You know, it's almost like my personal relationship with God almost, right? Like,
right.
You know, like nobody else is gonna understand it.
Right.
And it's totally subjective, by the way. So
and the best place to be with that is I am that I am.
I am that I am. Shout out to Andy, man. It's her birthday today.
Hey, shout out to Andy. Happy birthday. Yeah, man. And I think the ego becomes a problem when you say I am this. Because whatever this is, that becomes the thing. And it's not going to change until you really, really change it. So you better be careful about what this is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Because if it's I am lonely, that's gonna create an ego or reality called loneliness.
Right.
And you are going to manifest it and experience it until you kill that ego and allow a new one to come up that says, I'm good right now. I'm good right now. Just in the moment. In the moment.
Oh
Man.
my, I love the idea of that, man. Like even in I May Destroy You, Ego Death was the name of the bar in which the incidents of that show take place. And I just love the idea of ego death, like the death of egos, and like what that has to look like. Like, you know, like for instance, every time the ego grows into whatever it is that you needed it to be, like at some point, the relationship between you and that entity of the ego has to come to an end in order for it to grow into whatever you need for that moment. So like, how fast can you kill your ego? Is it like this slow, painful death? Or can you make that shit quick and easy, like assassin style? Like, hey man, just come on, man. You
You
know
know,
we got.
perspective I heard.
What's that?
Just give it what it wants.
But is giving it what it wants?
Well, okay. Let's slow that down.
Is giving it what it wants feeding it, or is giving it what it wants something else?
Well, okay. Okay. For example, it's a part of my ego that if I'm going out somewhere, I like to dress nice and wear, certain stones or maybe Pumbas. So I don't need Pumbas. I can let that go. Like that's just an ego. You want to wear Pumas, or I could just say, you know what? It's something that I like. You know what? I'm gonna buy myself something today. F it. I'm gonna buy myself another pair. Not in the form of some allowing a space to exist that's hurting you, like a night
no,
that breaks
but it's certainly okay. So
it's just like different parts of your ego you're accepting and you're okay with. Like, you know what?
Yeah.
You like to watch Japanese movies 12 hours a day. Okay. We're gonna watch it today, 12 hours. I will be okay with it. Versus trying to kill you. It's like, no, you know what? You should be intellectual, being productive with your day. You should never want to do
that. No. Here's the thing. So it is feeding it. So you're gonna feed your ego what it needs in that moment for it to be what it is that what you need, what you want, or what it is that you want to be. So like for instance, like let's say for instance, like, all right, you want to watch that Japanese movie for 12 hours throughout the day, right? But you know you got to prepare for work tomorrow or else it's gonna be shit.
True.
So you got a choice. You can kill that ego of like, this is what I need right now, and create the ego for yourself for what it is that you want, because you want to be a successful actor. You want to be a successful you want to make
I think that's what we get into with feeding it, where you're not trying to kill it, you're feeding it, but you're also managing it. It's like, I'm not gonna kill you. We'll watch it today. But
now here's the thing. Here's the thing though. Here's the thing. I was gonna say, if you're watching that movie and in some way that movie it helps you, it puts something inside of you that allows the next day to run smooth, then by all means, yes, feed that ego. Feed that, because it's going to give you what you need for the thing that actually matters. Because that thing, those Pumas don't matter. That movie doesn't matter. the actual thing that matters is what you want.
Mm-hmm.
If what's in line, if getting the Pumas is gonna hurt you paying your rent, then
Right.
guess what? That ego has to die.
Right.
You got to kill it.
Mm-hmm.
He is going to be an infestation on your manifestation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's got to go.
It has to die in that moment because he's gonna come back.
Exactly, because people are saying like, you know what, it's Pumas, man. They're like, it's on sale. It's half off for $30. What's wrong with that?
Right.
But then as you checking out, you see that they got Mr. Good Bars, and you like, yo, man, let me grab Mr. Good Bar too real fast. And then you just like, and then it just don't matter after that. You know what I mean? Like the discipline dam has been broken.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's just like the idea of like, all right, like I'm gonna hold true to something, and that part is gonna like be what's keeping the ego in check.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. And that's the balance. It's like you got it, but it's not ruling you. You're
It's
managing
constantly
it.
like having some sort of samurai right behind your ego. Like, all right, man, this is my job. Like, I'm supposed to kill you when you get out of hand. I have nothing against you, and I'll see you in your next lifetime, but I will always be here to protect to protect this being from total self-destruction. And maybe everybody ain't got a samurai, man. Like Kanye, he ain't got no samurai, you know?
He ain't got no samurai, man.
If he had a samurai,
no.
What happened? Oh man. Well, that was a natural out for us all. And maybe I'll just read one more thing to everybody before we go, since we're still live. And maybe Brandon will be back. But I wanted to read one more thing. And that was the principle of polarity. Everything is dual.
Oh.
I was just reading my polarity, the principle of polarity.
That?
Did you hear that? You on there now? Can you hear?
Yep. Okay.
There you go.
Whew. Phone died.
I could tell you said, "Oh no."
Oh no. Hey, I was about to close it out anyway, but dang, what was your last point? Because you were saying something.
I was just saying Kanye doesn't have a samurai. That's all. I just.
Did you see his interview with Nick Cannon?
Nah, I can't do it right now, man.
I feel you.
I will at some point see tidbits of it, I'm sure, but you know, it is. Yeah.
I get it. Let's next week, and I'm tell Duncan too. Let's talk about more of this Greek thing, because them gamma rays is what created Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
And I want to know what delta rays do too. You know what I mean?
It should be interesting too. And I'm wondering, maybe we should do earlier since he's on the East Coast now, huh?
Oh, right.
I thought about that as we were texting today.
I didn't think about that. He probably sleep.
It's 11 o'clock at night. Of course he's
sleeping. That's right. Damn. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, definitely do earlier than like 6.
But yeah, we'll figure that out with everything, man. We should talk too, because we've been talking about opportunities that we could create.
Bro, I got an idea.
I know you do. I'm gonna read this and then call me, and then we'll talk about this, because I got something to run by you too.
Okay.
All right. The principle of polarity. Everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Extremes meet. All truths are but half truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled. This principle embodies the truth that everything is dual. Everything has two poles. Everything has its pair of opposites, all of which were old Hermetic axioms. It explains the old paradoxes that have perplexed so many, which have been stated as follows. Thesis and antithesis are identical in nature, but different in degree. Opposites are the same, differing only in degree. The pairs of opposites may be reconciled. Extremes meet. Everything is and isn't at the same time. All truths are but half truths. Every truth is half false. There are two sides to everything, etc., etc., etc. It explains that in everything there are two poles or opposite aspects, and that opposites are really only the two extremes of the same thing, with many varying degrees between them. To illustrate, heat and cold, although opposites, are really the same thing, the difference consisting merely of degrees of the same thing. Look at your thermometer and see if you can discover where heat terminates and cold begins. There is no such thing as absolute heat or absolute cold. The two terms, heat and cold, simply indicate varying degrees of the same thing. And that same thing, which manifests as heat and cold, is merely a form, variety, and rate of vibration. So, heat and cold are simply the two poles of that which we call heat, and the phenomena attendant thereupon are manifestations of the principle of polarity. The same principle manifests in the case of light and darkness, which are the same thing, the difference consisting of varying degrees between the two poles of the phenomena. Where does darkness leave off and light begin? What is the difference between large and small, between hard and soft, between black and white, between sharp and dull, between noise and quiet, between high and low, between positive and negative? The principle of polarity explains these paradoxes, and no other principle can supersede it. The same principle operates on the mental plane. Let us take a radical and extreme example of love and hate. Two mental states, apparently two totally different, and yet there are degrees of hate and degrees of love, and a middle point in which we use the terms of like or dislike, which shade into each other so gradually that sometimes we are at a loss to know whether we like or dislike or neither. And all are simply degrees of the same thing, as you will see if you will but think a moment. And more than this, it is possible to change the vibrations of hate to the vibrations of love in one's own mind and in the minds of others. Many of you who read these lines have had personal experiences of the involuntary rapid transition from love to hate, and the reverse in your own case and that of others. And you will therefore realize the possibility of this being accomplished by the use of the will, by means of the Hermetic formulas. Good and evil are but the poles of the same thing, and the Hermetist understands the art of transmuting evil into good by means of an application of the principle of polarity. In short, the art of polarization becomes a phase of mental alchemy known and practiced by the ancient and modern Hermetic masters. An understanding of the principle will enable one to change his own polarity as well as that of others, if he will devote the time and study necessary to master the art. So, polarity, man.
Indeed.
That's what I got for y'all.
Huh?
I said that's what I got for y'all.
That was good, man. People got to go back and replay that. Listen to
Yeah,
that again.
absolutely.
I've listened to Brother Panic talk about that book quite often.
Hmm.
So yeah. Right. I'm right there with you. Um, dang, yeah. So what's the name of that book again for the people?
It's the Kabbalion.
Go get it, people. C. Freeman L. I just listened to him the other day. He was doing a
Hmm.
lecture on the Kabbalion. And he was talking about Kibala and where that name
Hmm.
comes from. It's an ancient African term. And that was the first guy that you had introduced me to.
Hmm.
I eventually came back to C. Freeman L.
He's just one of the best, man. I mean, I like Bobby too, but like,
Yeah.
see, he's just like one of the best,
C.
man. Just
Freeman L is more of a teacher.
yeah,
You just like boom, okay, I got it. Like I'm in class. Bobby more like
he
if a
like a
preacher,
preacher.
right, has sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And Panic kind
Exactly.
of like a mix of the two, where he really goes into the Kabbalion and other, occult books and kind of like takes out the preacher side of it and like just let's talk to it like real guys just talk.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I
yeah,
mean, look at. I mean, honestly, just look at the politics of like everything that's happening right now, and that's the exact law that we didn't talk about it a lot on here, but uh, high magic, man, is real, dude. Like people set these spells out, and then all of a sudden you start looking at it like, damn, the whole fucking world then went crazy. What is going on? And it's because people are under a spell, man. And it's sad, but it's like, all right, cool. But I ain't gonna be the one to like break people out of it and get shot. Like I'm good, man. I ain't trying. Secret Service got to spell on people.
because it's like everybody's committed to the spell. So to break somebody out of the spell, that thing, that ego that has them committed to it, is programmed to keep them committed to it. So it has to fight you off. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Which is kind of crazy, man. When you see another side of somebody come out that you've never seen before, like, oh, who was that? Because that ain't you, you know?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I gotta get that book. I haven't read it fully. I got that alchemy book that I posted about last week.
Hmm.
Um, but going back to the Bible too, man, a lot of alchemy is in the Bible, and if you don't take it so literal and you can see where the alchemy stuff is, like, oh,
Absolutely.
okay, I see.
My biggest one was always like, you know, when Jesus turned water into wine, like, right? Like,
Right,
uh, you got to understand that a person can carry the energy and make the people around them feel as if they're drunk, as if they've had something to drink because of the energy that they vibrate with. It's like
right,
it's such a like a I don't know, man. Like you're around somebody that just like you forget about where the time is gone, where you're at, what you're doing. Like it's just all inhibitions are gone
right.
when you're around this person, and I think that is sort of like the metaphor of like turning water into wine. You
Mm,
know,
I like that. I took the literal metaphor with just the alchemical process of grapes going fermenting into wine.
yeah,
but there was another side of it too, is with Jesus and all of his miracles in the Bible. A, he never wrote nothing. So there's no book written by Jesus. And B, he never touched anything. So when he turned water to wine, he didn't do it. Actually,
that's what I'm saying.
the people around him did everything. And then it happened.
Mm,
So that's part of the magic right there, which is that mind control, where it's like I don't have no button to control your mind, but I know how to, use my energy, which is in the form of your emotions, and have influence over them to where you're doing things to yourself because I've convinced you that this is real for you.
Mm.
So you'll perpetuate an idea because I keep putting up a symbol, and you don't know that the back of your mind is taking that symbol from whatever memory it had, from whatever past life or your ancestors or when you were a child. And now you're influenced to. It's just like when you begin all them ads on your phone. Dang, why all of a sudden I'm buying all this stuff on Amazon? Shit just keep popping up in front of your face. Keep influencing you, manipulating you, leading you to this. You went online just to check your email. 30 minutes later, you got 20 items in your cart. How does that happen?
I'm gonna say this one for next week.
Right. Or like, or man, them love spells. Woo!
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
Like, damn, how did I get caught up? What was the name of that song in Smokey Joe's?
Well, I don't know. I didn't do Smokey Joe.
Oh man, that's right.
Thanks a lot, man.
Love Potion number 9. Yeah. Got him caught up, man. Caught up.
Yeah. All right, it's 10 o'clock, brother.
Yeah. So next week, we'll do a little earlier.
Yeah, man. Let's get in that group chat and talk about it.
Okay.
See what's good. All right. And we'll talk in a minute. All right.
For sure.
All right, man. Peace.
Peace, bro. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. It's been fun. It's been real. Come back and see us next week. Love y'all. Peace.